On the 15th of July, an attacker opened a Bitcoin trade at $5,000 and closed it seconds later at $60,000. Bitcoin hadn't moved. There was no crash, no spike, no news. He simply invented the price out of thin air. And the machine, doing exactly what it was built to do, paid him around $24 million in real money for a profit that never existed. No firewall was breached. No password was cracked in the way you're imagining. The code did not have a bug in the normal sense. And that is what makes this one of the most unsettling heists in crypto this year. Because the attacker didn't break the rules. He became the person who gets to decide what's true. Let me show you exactly how. Because once you understand this, you'll never look at a price on a screen the same way again. The victim was a platform called Ostium. Now, Ostium is a clever idea. It's a decentralized exchange built on Arbitrum that lets you place leveraged bets, up to 200 times your money, not just on crypto, but on real-world things. Gold, oil, stocks, foreign currencies. It brings Wall Street's casino on-chain, and by mid-July it was holding around $63 million. And here's a detail I love. Its chief executive, Kalidora Kiernan Lin, is a former dancer with the Royal Danish Ballet who went to Harvard and ended up building crypto derivatives. This is not some anonymous fly-by-night operation. It was backed by serious money, Jump Crypto, General Catalyst, Coinbase Ventures. So, how do you rob a place like that without breaking in? You have to understand one word: Oracle. Here's the problem every one of these platforms has to solve. A blockchain is a sealed box. It knows what's happening inside itself, but it has no idea what the price of gold or Bitcoin is out in the real world. So, it relies on something called an oracle, a service whose only job is to walk up to the sealed box and tell it Bitcoin is $60,000 right now. The entire system then trusts that number completely. Your profit, your loss, your liquidation, all of it is calculated against whatever the oracle says. Now, stop and really sit with that for a second. The oracle isn't just reporting the price. The oracle is deciding the price, as far as the platform is concerned, and whoever controls the oracle controls reality. Ostium built its own custom version of this. For real-world assets, it used a provider called Stork. For crypto, it pulled from Chainlink. And an automation service called Gelato pushed those updates onto the blockchain through a component with the very boring name Price Upkeep. And it worked on a model called pull-based, which matters enormously. It means the price isn't sitting on the chain at all times. Instead, a freshly signed price report is delivered at the exact moment a trade is settled. Whoever is authorized to sign and submit that report, in that instant, literally decides the number your profit is measured against. You can probably already see the crack forming. On the 15th of July, at 18 minutes past 2 in the afternoon UTC, the attacker did something that should have been impossible. He had somehow gained control of an authorized price signer, one of those trusted forwarders allowed to submit reports. And instead of reporting a real price, he submitted fabricated ones. Future-dated, fake, but carrying a valid signature. The kind the system was built to trust without question. Then he made his move on the most watched market of all. Bitcoin against the dollar. He opened a position at a price of exactly $5,000. And in the same atomic batch of transactions, he closed it at around 60,000. To the smart contract, this looked like a spectacular, legitimate 12-fold winning trade. To reality, it was nonsense. Bitcoin was trading around its normal level the whole time and cannot leap 12-fold in a single transaction. But the contract didn't care about reality. It only asked one question. Is this price report signed by an authorized source? Yes. And that was the only lock on the door. It never asked, is this price even remotely plausible? It never asked, is this timestamp fresh? It never capped how much could be paid out in a single block. It just saw a signed number, calculated an enormous fake profit, and reached into the vault to pay it. And here is the cruelest part of the whole story, whose money it actually was. On a platform like this, there's a pool of money supplied by ordinary users called liquidity providers. These are people who deposit their funds to earn a yield. And in exchange, that pool acts as the house. It pays out whatever the winning traders are owed. It's called the OLP vault. So when the attacker manufactured his fake $24 million profit, that payout came straight out of the pockets of the liquidity providers. Regular people chasing a bit of yield, who had no idea they were the ones on the hook. The whole thing took about 5 minutes. 8 payments to a single wallet, and roughly a third of the entire platform was gone. The confirmed figure Ostium later gave was $23.75 million. Early estimates ranged from 18 million up to 24, so if you see different numbers floating around, that's why. Within about an hour, the team paused all trading, and to their credit, the traders' own deposits were kept safe in a separate contract. It was purely the liquidity pool that bled. Their public statement was calm and clinical. We are aware of the issue with the OLP vault. We have paused all trading. The team is investigating. But by then, the attacker was already gone. He swapped the stolen 24 million into roughly 12,000 Ethereum and funneled it through Tornado Cash, the crypto mixer that launders coins until they're almost impossible to trace. As of now, not a single dollar has been recovered. So here's my honest take, and it's a bigger point than one platform having a bad day. We are told constantly that decentralized finance is trustless. That's the whole pitch. No banks, no middlemen, no one you have to trust. But that is, frankly, a fairy tale. Every single one of these platforms has an oracle, and an oracle is a point of trust. It's a person or a server or a key that everyone has quietly agreed to believe. You haven't removed trust from the system. You've just hidden it inside a piece of infrastructure nobody looks at, and given it a boring name so you forget it's there. And the specific failure here is one the industry keeps making over and over. The contract checked whether the messenger was authorized, but it never checked whether the message was sane. Authorization is not the same thing as correctness. A signed lie is still a lie. If your system will believe that Bitcoin costs $5,000 simply because the right key signed the statement, then your system doesn't actually know anything. It's just obeying. What makes it worse is that the attacker chose Bitcoin deliberately. As one analyst pointed out, he could have picked some thinly traded stock or an obscure commodity where a weird price might slip by unnoticed. Instead, he picked the single most watched, most easily checked number in the entire market. And the system still swallowed a price 12 times off without blinking. That tells you the flaw was never about the asset. It was about the fact that nobody was checking the number at all. There's a fix, and it isn't complicated, which is almost the frustrating part. You add sanity checks. If a reported price is wildly different from the last one, reject it. You add circuit breakers that cap how much can be drained in a single block. You require more than one independent source to agree before a trade of that size settles. None of this is exotic. It's the digital equivalent of a bank teller pausing and saying, "Wait, you want to withdraw 12 times what's in your account off a single slip of paper? Let me check that." The tragedy of Ostium is that there was no teller. There was just a machine faithfully paying out on a signature. And that's the lesson I genuinely want you to take from this. In this world, the most dangerous vulnerabilities aren't the dramatic ones, the firewalls and the passwords. They're the quiet assumptions, the little pieces of the machine that everyone trusts and nobody guards. The oracle told a lie, and because it was allowed to speak, the lie became money. Real money out of real people's savings, gone in 5 minutes. So the next time someone tells you a platform is completely trustless, ask them the only question that matters. Who tells this thing what's true? And what happens the day that voice decides to lie? If this made the mechanics finally click for you, do me a favor and subscribe. I take the biggest, strangest stories in finance and make them make sense, without the hype and without the jargon. I'll see you in the next one.